The streak is dead. There are no more undefeated teams in the NFL.
Inside, and a beauty! Hall running free! Brees Hall inside the 10! He's gonna score!
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and today, before we hop into the video, a couple of quick announcements. Harlan, I'm going to give you another thank you in another video in the same day. Guys, if you haven't gone into the description, go do what Harlan did. He went into the description, he found the Patreon link. He didn't subscribe to the Patreon, and that's fine, but he did go to my merch page and ordered 2 of the Talking Jets with Tigo mugs. Harlan, I really do appreciate you helping the channel. Guys, all of these videos are brought to you by you. You guys sponsor the channel in any way that you guys can. It is not required or necessary, but is greatly appreciated. There's a lot of things that I want to do with the channel. I want to start filling up this white space, and the only way I can do that is with your guys' help. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I bring no income. I do this out of just because I want to talk Jets, and if you guys appreciate it, I would greatly appreciate it. But also, while you're down there, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment. But let's just hop into the video. Guys, Week 11 power rankings. The NFL has gone absolutely insane. It's gone mad. Teams that are winning are losing. Teams that are losing, that should be losing, are winning. Absolutely crazy scenes. I'm not going to delay it any longer. Let's just hop right in to the power rankings, and we're going to start at 10. We're going to start with a team that fell in the power rankings, and it's kind of ironic because they fell after they won, where last week they rose after they fell, and it's the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans are now at number 10 for me, and has nothing to do with the fact that they beat the Broncos, which they should have beat, and they just didn't beat them handedly, in my opinion. It has more to do with the fact that I think that there are other teams on here that I think are better than the Titans. I've seen enough Titans football to kind of figure out and know what they are, and the teams that I have ranked above them, I think beat them most Sundays, most playoff days, and that's why I have the Tennessee Titans down there. Now, they have a pretty interesting game coming up against Green Bay, who had a big win against one of our teams that's in the top 10. We'll talk about that when we get there. And so they have an opportunity to continue to climb up this list and to prove me wrong, and to prove that maybe they should be in the top 8, top 6 conversation. But right now, they're at 10, and they should be happy at 10. At number 9 is a team that wasn't in the top 10, but jumped into the top 10, specifically taking the place of a team that was in the top 10, but was on a bye, and they fell out of the top 10. And it's weird, but it's the Baltimore Ravens. I went back and I watched a lot of the Baltimore Ravens. It was a bye week. I had nothing to do. And I was watching the Baltimore Ravens, and I was seeing how they were winning games. And while I was underwhelmed, to be honest, and I didn't think it was super impressive, they are still winning games. And you got to put some respect on the record, right? And that's where a 6-3 team not being in the top 10, while I have a team that's 5-4 in their division in the top 10, just seemed wrong. So the Bengals had to fall out, and the Baltimore Ravens had to come in at 9 because I think they're better than the Titans, and that's how that shook out. Even though they're on a bye, I don't know, guys. It doesn't make sense to me, but it does make sense if you think about it. So the Baltimore Ravens at 9. They've played the Carolina Panthers, so not really much opportunity for them to jump up the list, in my opinion, unless one of the top 8 teams loses really badly. But there is a big opportunity for them to fall right out of the top 10. Carolina is playing swifty football. They are interesting. They just beat the Falcons 25-15 on Thursday. So they get an extra long week to get ready for the Ravens, who are also coming off of a bye week. So, again, interesting game coming up. And then we move to number 8, which is a team that was in the top 5 last week. Now they fall to the 8th spot, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys lost in overtime to Green Bay, who we know isn't a good football team right now. They made Christian Watson look like a Pro Bowl wide receiver. Absolutely outstanding and stunning, and they just aren't that. So the Dallas Cowboys had to fall, and it doesn't get any easier for them, because now the Dallas Cowboys have to go up this week against the Minnesota Vikings, which are a super interesting team, and we'll talk more about that matchup at the top of the list when we get to the Minnesota Vikings power rankings. If you didn't think that the Minnesota was going to be in the top 10, I don't know what's happening here. Shouldn't be a spoiler. At number 7 is a team that continues to fall down the power rankings. They were number 1, they fell to number 3, and they lose in back-to-back weeks, and now they're at number 7. You guessed it. It's Canada's team, the Buffalo Bills. They lost to the Minnesota Vikings in what might be the best game of football we see all year. The Minnesota Vikings looked phenomenal. It honestly made me a little bit nervous for that game that we have against them in a couple of weeks. That being said, the Minnesota Vikings had an incredibly good game, but Buffalo looked off. And that's the only thing that I can really say about it. Buffalo, something was up with Josh Allen, the offensive play calling. Like, yes, it was 33-30, and it came down to like a really, really stupid, lucky set of events, a fumble. Like, but it just, like, does anybody, I don't know. It just seemed, Buffalo seemed off. And so they're going to take a tumble down the ratings, in my opinions. And that's because I think the teams that I have ranked above the Buffalo Bills right now are just playing better football. Now, I'm not saying that they're better than the Buffalo Bills, but right now, these teams are playing better football. And that starts with the team at number 6, who got another win this week against a team that they should have beat, and they keep on winning games, and that's the New York Giants. New York Giants are 7-2, and you got to put some respect on the record. And while I think a lot of what's going on with the Giants is just, I don't know, fluky, that sounds like the wrong word to say, but it just doesn't necessarily seem super sustainable. When you look at that roster, Brian Daboll has that team outperforming the talent that's on their roster to an exceptional rate, and that's why Brian Daboll should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year, because he's having that team outperform their expectations, and they're 7-2. And with the Philadelphia Eagles losing against the Commanders this week, that puts them a game behind for the NFC East. I'm sorry, the NFC East is getting really, really competitive, and now they've got 4 teams above 500. The AFC and the NFC East are looking incredibly, incredibly dynamic. And speaking of the AFC East, we move to a team who jumped up in a ranking on their bye week, literally just because Buffalo fell, and that's the New York Jets. The New York Jets are my number 5 team in the power ranking. And that's it. They didn't have a bye week. They didn't lose anybody. Nobody got hurt. Everyone got healthy. We're getting Max Mitchell back. Like, team jumps up. There's a big week coming up this week where, against the Pats, both of us are coming off a rest. There's a big week, and the Jets can continue to climb the power rankings. They can take the number 1 spot in the AFC East. Who knows? Maybe even take the number 1 spot in the AFC. We'll see how it plays out. But the New York Jets are coming off a rest, and they're doing a lot of really, really, really impressive things. So I have the New York Jets at number 5. This one's going to hurt me, and I can't keep them out of the top 10 anymore. They keep winning games. They keep winning games in super impressive fashion, and they're only above the Jets because they actually played a game, and that's the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins absolutely annihilated the Browns, and the Browns were coming off a rest. They had 2 weeks to get ready for the Fins, and gosh, their head coach is absolutely incredible. I want to hate him, but I can't. I love that guy. Tua is being accurate and good with the decision-making when it comes to throwing the ball. He hasn't been a world beater, but Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle absolutely have. These guys are out of their mind good. They have 2 receivers that are going to break multiple thousand yards. Like, I would not be surprised if they both had 2,000 yards at the end of the season. Like, and I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but I'm not. They throw the ball incredibly effective, and they just use Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle's speed to create mismatches. It makes me feel really, really good that we have a game in hand on the Miami Dolphins, but I am really looking forward to the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins facing up against each other in Week 18, because I think that's going to be a good game. It's a really, really high-flying offense versus, in my opinion, the best defense in the NFL. It's going to be fun. Moving in to the top 3, a team falls from the 2 spot, who they have had held solidly for a long time. They go back to 3, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. You can't lose to the Washington Commanders and expect to stay, right? This is not how that works. You lost to the Commanders. They are now 5-5, and it's a division game, and that's fine, but you lost to a team that's owned by Dan Snyder. That's plain and simple. You lost to Heineke. And that's it. Now, the only reason the Eagles are at 3 is because I don't think the Fins can beat the Eagles right now, and I don't think the The Giants can beat the Eagles right now. And if I said that the Jets could beat the Eagles, that everybody would think that I'm going to have a homer take, even though I do think the Jets can beat the Eagles. I didn't want to have that homer take. So Philly is at 3, and they're at 3. They still have the best record. You got to respect the record. They're 8-1. But I've been saying this for a long time. I think the Eagles have faced a really, really, really easy schedule. And we're starting to see chinks and cracks in the armor. When A.J. Brown gets shut down, that offense kind of dwindles. We'll see what happens, right? They've got a lot of really good and interesting pieces on that offense. Devontae Smith, Miles Sanders, whatever the running back's name is. They got a lot of interesting guys there. But Philly stays at 3. They fall out of 2. And then in the number 2 spot, the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, the Kansas City Chiefs are no longer my best team in football. Yes, they did beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 27-17. That's a team they should have absolutely beat, and that's where the Kansas City Chiefs are. They're at number 2. They have a big game against the Chargers, and next week I'm going to be a Chargers fan because if the Chargers win and the Chiefs lose, the Chiefs go to 7-3. The Chargers, unfortunately, will go to 6-4. But the Jets, if they can beat, when they beat New England, will move to 7-3, taking them atop the AFC East and tying them for the top of the AFC, period. And that's an interesting dynamic. And yes, guys, you guessed it. The Minnesota Vikings are my number 1 team in football right now. Got to respect the record. They are 8-1. They are tied for the best record in football right now. They continue to win games. And while their schedule is not super impressive, just like the Vikings, they went out and they beat a team that on paper is better than them. On paper is a bigger Super Bowl favorite than them. They went in and they won that game and they grinded it out and they played it all the way to the end. They did not care of anything and they went out and they played their hearts out. And that new head coach in Minnesota, I hate myself for not knowing his name, has this team playing incredibly well. Kirk Cousins looks like an elite game manager, not throwing the ball away most of the time, and just being effective and putting his team, honestly, in positions to try and win games. But ultimately, this win comes off of the back of one player and one player only, in my opinion, and that's Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson, honestly, might be the best wide receiver in football when it comes to total skill set and what he provides. Tyreek Hill is elite and right now is probably the best wide receiver in football, but the skill set that Justin Jefferson brings, he is a all-around wide receiver. I love this guy, and it hurts my heart that he isn't on my football team because, man, is he good. Guys, that's my top 10. Who do you think I put in the top 10 too high? Who do you think should be in the top 10? Let me know in the comment section below. And last but not least, go Jets.